Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a word that billions of people use, a word we think we know, Islam. But what if the common definition is completely off? Based on the really fascinating linguistic analysis of Dr. Khaled Al-Sayed Hassan, we're going to explore an argument that Islam doesn't mean submission, but something far more active, an act of peace.
So let's get right into it. For centuries, the go-to translation for Islam has been submission. It's in pretty much every textbook, it's what we're all told. But what if a tiny, crucial detail in Arabic grammar completely flips that meaning on its head? What if it's not about an internal state of being, but about an external action you take?
And here's the argument in a nutshell. On one hand, you have the popular meaning, el-istislam, submission. It feels kind of passive, right? An internal state. But on the other hand, the linguistic analysis points to an active, outward action. Manah as-salam, the granting of peace. The difference is huge. It's the difference between being acted upon and being the one who acts.
Okay, so how in the world do we get from a state of submission to an act of granting peace? Well, the answer isn't some complex philosophy. It's actually a simple but super powerful rule of Arabic grammar that honestly changes everything. It all starts with the root verb salima. Now, this is what's called an intransitive verb. All that means is that it describes an internal state of being. Think of it like saying someone is happy or feels tired. It's a condition that exists entirely inside a person. There's no action directed at anyone else.
But watch what happens when we just add a single character, this little hamza, to the beginning. The verb becomes aslama, and boom, its whole nature changes. It's not about being peaceful anymore. It's about actively giving peace to someone else. The state becomes an action. The focus flips from inside to outside. This is the grammatical key that unlocks this whole reinterpretation.
And that right there, that's the whole point. This tiny grammatical shift has massive implications. It reframes the entire concept of Islam, not as just a personal state of submission, but as an outward, real-world action of giving and granting peace to the people around you.
Now, let's see how this idea builds, because this exact same linguistic logic applies to another foundational concept, iman.
The word iman is almost always translated as faith or belief. But, you guessed it, the same linguistic pattern is at play here. It's not just about an internal feeling of belief, it's the external action of granting security. So if you follow this logic, a movement isn't just a believer, they are a provider of safety and security for others.
And you can actually see this right in the Qur'an. This verse here describes some of God's attributes. And look, two of those names are as-salam, the peace, and al-mu'min, the giver of security. The text itself is defining these concepts as divine actions of providing peace and providing security. It's right there.
Okay, so if a Muslim is one who grants peace and a mu'min is one who grants security, what does that famous Quranic phrase aslama wajhahu lillah, which is so often translated as submitted his face to God, what does it really mean?
To really get this phrase, we have to break it down. And the trickiest part is the word wajh, which, is usually translated as face. But is that all it means? A physical face?
Not even close. The word wajh in Arabic is incredibly rich. Yet, it can mean a physical face, but its deeper, metaphorical meanings are what's important here. It can mean your entire direction in life, your core intention, the very essence of your being. It's about so much more than just your appearance. It's about your purpose. And you know what? The Qur'an itself gives us the key to unlock this meaning. This verse right here explicitly defines what it means to act liwajhillah, for the sake of God. It says it means to act with a pure intention, without expecting any reward, any thanks, any recognition in return. It's the definition of selfless action.
All right, let's put all the pieces together. We have as-salama, meaning he granted peace, and we have wajha lillah, meaning to act completely selflessly. So what happens when we combine them?
When you put it all together, the phrase aslama wajhahu lillah is totally transformed. It's not about submitting your face to God. It means dedicating your entire being, your wajh, your entire purpose and intention to the act of granting peace. And you do it selflessly, for the sake of peace itself, not for any personal gain.
Now, this reinterpretation isn't just playing with words. It fundamentally changes your perspective on your own actions, your purpose, and your role in the world.
So the implication is a complete 180. A Muslim is no longer one who passively submits, but one who actively grants peace. A mu'min is not someone who privately believes, but someone who actively provides security. And this lines up perfectly with that famous saying, right? That a true Muslim is one from whose tongue and hand others are safe.
And that brings us to our final thought. If we see these terms as verbs, as actions, instead of just static labels, it kind of invites us to constantly ask ourselves a question. What am I actively contributing to the world around me? Am I granting peace? Am I providing security? It basically transforms your identity from a noun into a lifelong verb.